Standardized tests are used throughout the United States to measure overall academic achievement of students through mainly multiple choice and true-false questions. According to Time magazine, this structure of education sparked during the Industrial Revolution. During this time period, kids were taken out of the farms and factories they worked in and put behind desks for the first time. Standardized examinations emerged as an easy way to test large numbers of students quickly. Sir Ken Robinson, an international advisor on education, puts these issues into perspective on his TED Talks.
I believe we have a system of education that is modeled on the interests of industrialism and in the image of it. Schools are still pretty much organized on factory lines, ringing bells, separate facilities, specialized into separate subjects. We still educate children by batches. We put them through the system by age group. Why do we do that? If you're interested in the model of learning, you don't start from this production line mentality. Essentially about conformity, and increasing it's about that as you look at the growth of standardized testing and standardized curricula. It's about standardization. I believe we've got to go in the exact opposite direction. That's what I mean about changing the paradigm.
As society advances, is the structure of the system and its emphasis on standardized testing doing more harm than good for students, especially those who tend to be right-brain thinkers?
I think very often standardized tests can be a gatekeeper for persons. Many students who are registered with our office don't perform well on standardized tests, and I think that has created barriers to higher education for those campuses that require SATs, GREs, etc. So it would be great to be able to possibly have them complete the standardized test, look at a more holistic version of that student and that applicant. What's their personal statement? What are their goals for trying to attend the university? What are the things in the community have they contributed to? So that we can get a bigger picture and not exclude those that don't have the opportunity.
The DRC has created slower-paced courses for students who have a hard time grasping the material given for certain subjects.
Other algebra courses and things like that, they're so sequential. So the way this course is designed is there's different sections. So if you don't get probability and statistics, maybe you'll understand the business finance part. So it's designed for students to complete the course with a sense of accomplishment instead of saying, oh, I'm never going to be able to do math, to actually complete it and say, you know what, I was able to do that.
Since the establishment of these classes allowing students to think in a divergent way, the DRC has seen major improvements in both interest as well as comprehension. Although different types of learners have a harder time getting through the modern-day educational system, once they have overcome these obstacles, Mary Zabel believes there is a bright road ahead for these individuals.
I admire their tenacity and their ability to overcome obstacles, and I really feel that they contribute to the diversity of our campus. All of us that learn in a very similar fashion that can adapt to a university environment, we all go along one path. But students who are registered with our services very often can't go down that path. They're going to have to zig and zag. They're still going to cross the finish line, but they're going to have to do it looking outside the box. And I think that can lead to a lot of very creative, innovative ways of looking at things.
After talking with Mary, I was curious to see how the students at the University of Nevada, as well as some parents, felt about standardized testing and what they think would be a more efficient way to measure the overall intelligence of students.
I understand that it's necessary because I know that some students can excel in the classroom and it's a way to show how well they actually learn the material. Besides just getting a good grade, it can show that they've mastered the material. However, there are definitely students that don't test well, so it gives them a disadvantage.
Although Manson doesn't see standardized testing as a major concern in the educational system for older kids, she believes this kind of testing could become a problem for younger students.
I guess I would be more concerned with the testing for the younger kids, and elementary and middle school is more of a concern for me. I understand the role of the ACTs and the SATs.
Although standardized testing was created to collect data on students with good intentions, people today see many flaws in the system and believe that there is room for change.
Personally, for me, I didn't do very well in my SATs, but I know like I'm good at math and I'm good at writing, but my SAT scores don't reflect that, which is why I don't think standardized testing is a very good way to measure all students. Everybody is different, and I think standardized testing is like a way to see if you're good at memorizing things and like finding like the trick per se to passing all those tests. Like if you've been taught to like know that like tests reflect who I am, then standardized testing would really show like, and I think it would like diminish the way you feel about yourself, which could probably cause like a lot of dropouts in high school.
According to PTA.org, only 25% of a student's success in college is related to the student's score on aptitude tests. Even students who do not have a specific learning disability feel that certain educational requirements are more challenging to get through than they should be. This added pressure causes stress and anxiety.
What we come to think of as academic ability. And this is deep in the gene pool of public education, that there are really two types of people, academic and non-academic, smart people and non-smart people. And the consequence of that is that many brilliant people think they're not, because they've been judged against this particular view of the mind.
There just has to be a different way than just hear A, B, and C, or like just follow this prompt, because the world doesn't really work that way at all. Standardized testing doesn't reflect anything as who I am, and like I'm just not a number or a letter.
I personally feel that they're not the best way to measure what a student has learned and their ability to learn. I feel that they're too stressful on students at a very young age, and that they're not the best way to measure, what they've learned in class or their abilities.
What I would change about standardized testing would be being able to test people with different learning styles in different ways, because you can't really expect one person to be able to show their knowledge in a specific way that another person can.
It seems that many people feel the same way about standardized testing, so why hasn't there been much change? Bailey Knight, an aspiring biochemical engineer, feels his experience in college allows him to be more creative compared to his education experience from K through 12.
I can totally see a difference in how much I study for my biology class compared to my sociology class and things like that, just because it's like that's what I like, you know what I mean? It makes me happy, it makes me think, compared to the other one where I'm like, okay, like I know this is important to some people, but at this point in my life it's not very important to me.
He admits that being able to focus on his major and what he is passionate about has made an impact on his interest in learning.
When I look at things, like it just gets my mind going, like why is this, why is that, you know what I mean? It just gets me asking like so many questions, and it kind of just makes me like, I don't know, it just makes me happy when I ask all those questions and think about things.
Knight refers to a picture to explain how standardized testing measures overall student intelligence.
They're different animals. There was like a monkey, and there was like a fish in a fishbowl, and then there was like a dog, and you can't expect them to all be able to climb a tree equally, even though they all know the material equally.
Certain majors require students to pass a standardized test in order to graduate.
They're required actually to take these exams in order to be classified as a professional engineer within the United States. And a lot of companies, organizations that are hiring engineers, they must have these exams to kind of give them certificates for their professional engineering. And it's really hard, especially as a human being who is forced to take some of these tests. If you don't have the paperwork that says that you have like a learning disability, for example, then you're forced to take it the way everyone else does. But if you do have a piece of paper that says you have a learning disability, they usually give you, a separate room or something to help you concentrate. But I mean, how many people actually have that certificate?
The number of students who are diagnosed with ADHD continue to increase. In the year 2012 alone, 6.4 million students were diagnosed with ADHD.
It seems to me not a coincidence totally that the incidence of ADHD has risen in parallel with the growth of standardized testing. Now, these kids are being given Ritalin and Adderall and all manner of things, often quite dangerous drugs, to get them focused and calm them down. The arts especially address the idea of aesthetic experience. An aesthetic experience is one in which your senses are operating at their peak, when you're present in the current moment, when you're resonating with the excitement of this thing that you're experiencing, when you are fully alive. An anesthetic is when you shut your senses off and deaden yourself to what's happening. And a lot of these drugs are that. We're getting our children through education by anesthetizing them. And I think we should be doing the exact opposite. We shouldn't be putting them asleep. We should be waking them up to what they have inside of themselves.
Of course, the entire education system isn't flawed. There are teachers who are passionate about their role in student education and understand the importance in evolving traditional ways of teaching. This teaching style inspires students and allows creativity to flow in the classroom. At the end of the day, we all have different specializations and things we are good at. How can students expect to reach their fullest potential in school if from starting in kindergarten up until their senior year of high school, the way students are tested remains the same?